My recovery. 41 men and 39 women. Original post: Ellie, the wife of my husband's closest buddy, is employed at the same business as myself. We don't get along well since I've always thought she doesn't like me. She seemed to have a thing for my spouse. I rarely go to the parties at my husband's parents' place, but I missed Ali's 40th birthday celebration in August of last year. She was throwing a big celebration, but I had just begun to have the worst morning sickness I had ever experienced. Something no one had warned me wasn't just for the mornings. When Ali made a move on my husband, he became enraged and rejected her. Ellie became enraged and informed him that married couples were cheating on each other. She told him that she and her spouse were having an extramarital affair. It was a co-worker of mine, one whom my spouse already held in low regard. Upon arriving home, my spouse was inebriated and agitated. He came up to me, and I refuted what he said, but he did sleep on the couch. A few weeks afterwards, he gave me the order to go. It seems that Ali told my husband about my infidelity, my late work hours, and other things. I moved in with my parents because I was stunned and had nowhere else to go. I felt that my parents had to take me in since they also believed that I was cheating. Never in my life have I felt such hurt. How could my spouse so easily accept that kind of information about me? In November, he then requested a paternity test. When the wife of a second friend told her husband about Ali's actions, my husband was informed of the reality. My spouse expressed regret, was heartbroken, and tried to make things right between us. He said he didn't trust Ali when she told him. He believed her to be telling the truth about everything until he learned that she was being honest about her husband's adultery. I would never have brought my husband back if I hadn't been pregnant, but I also don't want my child to be born into the world without both of his parents present. Although I adore my stepfather, I had a great deal of pain growing up since he did not love me the same way he loved his biological children, my half-siblings. We are continuing in treatment, but nothing feels the same as it did a month ago when I returned home. I'm not even sure how I feel about my spouse. I don't always love him, but sometimes I do. Though it senses my alteration, he is attempting to make me joyful once more. The last time we made love, he continued urging me to return to him. Then, while we were still in close proximity, he sobbed and began blaming me. I have no idea what to do. I'm sorry if I seem aloof at times, it's not my purpose. I need this to work for us as well as for our youngster. Please help me return to the way things were, or at the very least, provide me with coping mechanisms so I can attempt to live with the possibility that things will get worse from here on out. Before you read the update, here's the best advice. It sounds like you need couples therapy plus the therapists for each of them to finish the hat trick. That is, if you truly believe you can make this work. I would seriously consider doing that. If he truly left, then perhaps it was worth it. Nevertheless, if you are unable to forgive him, leave for the benefit of the child. It is not better for your child to grow up with divided parents than to model a dysfunctional relationship. Instead, set a happy example for your child. Perhaps pertinent, did he also cheat because he believed you had? I comprehend all of your points. All I want is for this to work. Since everything transpired, he has been in therapy, and we are in couples counseling. Since we were divorcing, he didn't precisely cheat, but he withdrew it when he realized I wasn't lying. Yes, he had slept with people, though, and every time he gets close to me, I find myself thinking about it. He began to mistrust you really quickly and began having affairs. You should both have individual and couple therapy, in my opinion, but I don't think you should have to rush your recovery. He damaged your connections with other people, betrayed you, and shattered your faith in him. Because your stepfather wasn't a decent step-parent, you are still here. There are some truly wonderful step-parents. Having kids isn't a good excuse to continue in a toxic relationship. The child will suffer far more from this than from having divorced parents. Your spouse doesn't respect your word, he believes the words of others. He disregarded his marriage vow, which said that even though you would be a team, you would be his partner and he yours. He had no right to throw you out of the marital home when you were pregnant, especially since he didn't know if the child was his. Going back to him is a huge mistake, in my opinion, especially considering your motivations. Update. Hello once more, I appreciate your help. Since my posts have gotten too long, I don't expect anyone to read them, but I appreciate your concern. It really does feel bizarre that strangers understand me significantly better than those who know and love me. I would like to address something, though, which is that I received a lot of hostile messages over my previous downvoted comment regarding whether or not my husband had an affair with Ali. Why I was assaulted in a private chat and downvoted is beyond me. I addressed the question honestly and without attempting to justify my husband. He wouldn't do it to his friend because he loves and respects him, which is the real reason he would never do it. It saddens me, to be honest, even if it has nothing to do with me. While I don't want him to have slept with her, it bothers me that my spouse would never choose to walk all over me and our child in order to go over that edge with a friend. I don't understand why you thought my response was so terrible. I still work at the same place as Ellie. She isn't the reason my life is changing. To those of you who are upset because I didn't seem to be as upset with her as I am with my husband, trust me, I detest both of them immensely. Simply put, I didn't think she was worth even the slightest investment of my time and effort. I did, however, introduce her and her husband to everyone we know, in case you were wondering. She now works primarily from home since, once again, my coworkers and those who don't know me as well as my family believe me without any hesitation. Many of you have contacted me asking if my husband is aware of how I'm feeling, and many of you have asked for an update. We haven't had much communication. I simply never had the stamina. I'm always tired, both physically and more so mentally. Some days I can hardly stand to eat or take a shower because I'm so exhausted. It's just so simple to say, I'm fine, or I'll be fine. My spouse can tell a fair amount about my emotional state from my silence. However, I haven't really described how I've been feeling during the previous few months. I tried not to weep when I saw Island and during our couples sessions as well. Basically, he's crying over how much it hurt me and how horrible he felt every time he thought back to the times he didn't think our child was truly his. Everything it says, I think. Did I sense that he was truly and deeply guilty? He claims that his house is his, that he deserves it, that he never wants it to leave, and that he will always be guilty for the way he treated me. This is also what I think. It simply isn't sufficient for me. On Tuesday, though, we held our first meeting of the year, and it was largely verbal. Then I told him how it broke my heart when my husband refused to believe me, slept with other people, and, worst of all, how disposable and useless I and my child were to him. I was honest with him. I didn't think I would ever be able to forgive him. He needs to give me some room and quiet if he wants me back. I told him that I hoped to never feel unworthy again. I can support my child and myself well with my current employment, but I still desire my own home. So that no one can ever force me to live on the streets again, he must put it in my name. The fortune my husband received from his father should be placed in a trust fund for my child, and my husband should not have access to it, since I want my child to never be disposable again. In addition, I want my spouse to move out. I was quite open in stating that these are my demands, with no assurances that we would end up together. He informed me this morning that while he had agreed to everything, he needed me to swear that he would be present for the birth of our child because he has already missed so much time due to the pregnancy and he can't bear the idea of missing the first few weeks. I concurred, and to be honest, I never wanted to work on this by myself. This weekend is his move-out date. During that brief period, your spouse had affairs. I would argue that they downvoted you for claiming that you don't think you slept with Ellie because you came at it from an emotional point of view, saying that he put someone above you, which made them detest it. Ali would be the first to attack her husband and continue assaulting him after you left, and your husband would owe her one for exposing you, assuming Ali's husband had shut her down and then opened his eyes to all of this neighborly infidelity. I'm hoping it didn't occur. Just speculating as to why you might have received fewer votes for that. I apologize for what you're going through. He answered, yes, he was very angry and wanted to get over as fast. Wow, I'm really proud of you. It must have been so hard to stand up for yourself and put your needs into words. I really wish you the best and hope that you can heal from this and at least manage good co-parenting even if you should decide on not staying with your husband. Thank you, I thought of what was important to meet my baby. I want to never be put in that position again and I want to make my decisions from a place of power. If I ever take him back, it should be because I wanna, not because I have to, and I'm sorry this post got even longer than the last. Next narrative. As soon as the test results confirm that he is the child's father, my boyfriend requested a paternity test for our child. I'm moving on from him. I recently became a mother for the first time, and my little guy is my pride and joy. Although getting used to being a parent has been difficult, these first few months have been wonderful, weary but wonderful. My partner of 3 years is the first person I have ever loved in a relationship, and I felt that we were succeeding not only as partners but also as new parents. He asked me for a paternity test on Friday when he got home. It was totally unexpected. He asked for one as if he was wondering what was for supper while I was clearing away the plates. Although I'm not of the same race as him, our child, save for skin tone, is exactly like him in infant photos that I've seen. I was stunned when he asked, and his reasons for that: he had to be sure he was the father, he had to have that certainty. All I remember as he was speaking is just immediately feeling pain. The man I love doesn't trust me. He would actually believe that I would sleep with someone else, cheat on him, and then try to pass off another man's baby as I have never ever given him reason to think I would cheat on him. I have tried to be transparent and communicated, and it wasn't enough. He told me he would give me time to think about this, that he wouldn't go behind my back and do this test, but for our relationship to move forward he needs to be 100 sure. He repeated this because he, in his words, needed me to realize how serious he was. After thinking for a couple of days, I'm going to allow him this paternity test because I have nothing to hide. I never cheated and would have never cheated on him, but once it's proven that he's the father, I'm ending it, leaving the same day, and I'm going to try my best to be a cooperative co-parent with him. In the meantime, I'm coming up with my exit plan: a place to live and a lawyer to work out. It caused the arrangement in court. I can't even tell my family or my friends right now because they would go nuclear, and my first priority is our child. I hope the test was worth it to him. I'm not asking for advice or reassurance or to explain aside. I'm just realizing this part of my life is now over. What a way to start the new year, huh? The best tip is right here. Did you wonder what suddenly caused him to change his mind and who he was speaking to? I believe a bunch of buddies got a hold of him, and he won't be expecting her to go, especially after making what seems like an ultimatum that this connection must continue. You recently gave birth. You have no power. You are completely at my mercy and I hold all the authority, therefore you have to follow my instructions. Surprise, huh? His residence kind of checked out, too. It sounds like, are you sure it's my baby? I want to be somewhere else, and if it's not mine, I won't have to pay any child support. Whatever it is, at least you will already have a paternity test on hand to establish that the child is his in order to collect child support. It might not matter if he has already signed a birth certificate. Many states don't even require biological parentage, just legal parenthood. It is preferable to keep it from others. This ensures that it won't be returned to him. He is unable to go back once the results are in. I'm small-minded. In order to play it back to him later, I would also record him saying it and then recording him receiving the results. And if he ever tells a falsehood and claims not to have said it. This is so much. Make sure to note everything he says in this response to the test. Maintain a duplicate of the test as well. Previous story: the spouse of my closest buddy revealed his affections for me. She claims that after a very rough life, she is now happy. How can I break the news to her? I, 32, and Mia, 32, became great friends during our time in college. Even as a young child, Mia had a strong devotion to her family and a romantic side. Her greatest ambition in life is to have a large, happy family. Mia, regrettably, had a really challenging upbringing. Between the ages of 10 and 12, she lost both of her parents and her younger sister. She spent some time in the system before her horrible uncle adopted her. Mia was and still is obviously in excellent mental health. She also succeeded in stopping her medication and therapy a few months ago. After being together for 2 years, Mia and her 34-year-old husband Rick were married for 6 months. Though I think everything was a little hurried, Mia was beginning to worry that if she waited, she wouldn't be able to conceive. And to tell the truth, Rick appeared like the ideal partner for her. She informed me that she and Rick are in agreement, even if she was aware that things are moving more quickly than she had planned. Since it's her life, I should be pleased if she is. There is never love or hate between Rick and myself. We sort of get along since he's my friend's husband. Our lifestyles and aspirations in life are different, and we don't have any interests. On New Year's Eve, Rick and I threw a party and invited me and my partner, a 31-year-old man, to attend. Everything appeared to be all right. The place was packed, so while Rick and I were talking with some friends, I went outside to get some fresh air. After a few minutes, Rick came along. He abruptly declared his love for me as we were idly discussing about unimportant topics. I was completely taken aback by it and assumed it was just one of his dumb jokes. I simply chuckled, responded with a joke, and hoped he would stop. Unfortunately, he simply went all in, became obviously furious, and began complaining that he doesn't want to be miserable for another year, that taking care of me is tiring because of her trauma, and that he deserves better than that. I was so sick at this point that all I wanted to do was get away. I informed him that he was speaking without understanding and that we would discuss it later when he had calmed down. I have to inform her that Mia and Rick are trying for a baby, of course. The problem is, I'm not sure how to accomplish that. How do you tell someone that their greatest life experience is a lie? When dealing with someone who has self-harmed and used antidepressants for the duration of her life, how do you approach something like this? I'm not even sure whether she will accept my story. I can't watch her become all euphoric and joyful about him when I know he doesn't even frickin' appreciate her, even if I don't want to lose her as a friend. Sometimes I feel like I should simply forget about it all and never bring it up, but I know that's wrong. You may lose the friendship if you have to tell her, and it could mean that she ends up choosing him. However, I couldn't survive in secret. In order to give her some time to prepare, I would meet with her one-on-one as soon as feasible and inform her that you have bad news. It's up to her what she does with this information, and you'll be there for her whatever she decides, even if that means being away for a while. I'd phrase it like this: this is so horrible I don't want it to be true, but her husband is not a good man and she needs to know. We can all bring her world crashing down with us, so please offer whatever support you think is appropriate, but be prepared for her to snap at the news and possibly lose it. You must tell her, but first you must attempt to record another conversation with him about this matter without him knowing. Depending on how lost you are or where you are from, you may need his consent to record him saying what he said. If Mia does believe you without any supporting evidence, he will almost certainly try to turn the tables on you and claim that you were the one trying to get close to him. Yes, I will try to speak with him about it once again in order to get the evidence. Simply said, I find the whole idea to be completely absurd. Though I am aware that love is blind, I find it hard to believe that I struck up the conversation. It's weird enough that he did it in the first place. He doesn't even know me as long as I have been with my partner, and he doesn't know me well enough to be in love with me. Neither he nor I ever suggested to this man that we could be interested in each other. There are times when I wonder if that talk ever took place, and I doubt my own sanity.